Hi everyone, Nurse Nettie here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about being a ward manager and I'm going to offer you 5 tips which I hope will help you navigate this complex role. As a ward manager, you have so many responsibilities. You are responsible for the patients, the staff, the ward, the visitors. You've got targets. The list is literally endless. So how are you going to do that? You are one person. My first tip to you is don't be afraid to delegate. You have a team of senior nurses on your ward. You need to use them, lean on them. I recruited a junior sister onto the ward and she embraced that role. I had a big project. We were introducing new roles onto the ward and I just threw that project at her. She ran with it. She wrote the competencies, she wrote the training and gave the training. She developed these staff. It was a big success. And the junior sister actually felt really motivated. She felt empowered. She was proud to be in that role. I couldn't have done that job by myself. When you do delegate, just remember that you still need to be there in the background. Don't just push everything onto them and think that they can do that. You've handed that job over, because unfortunately it doesn't work like that. You are still accountable for what happens on your ward. My next tip I'm going to talk about is email management. So as a manager, you will find yourself having to deal with several emails a day. After a week off, you could come back to a few hundred emails in your inbox. So my first piece of advice is make sure that you do have folders within your inbox. I've got a folder for every staff member, infection control, recruitment, and Datex. If you've got a folder, you can then create rules for incoming emails. And by a rule, I mean that if a Datex email was to hit my inbox, my rule says to send that straight to my Datex folder. The good thing about that is when you do come back from a week off, instead of say maybe 300 emails in your inbox, you've now maybe only got 200 emails. Now that's not to say that you haven't still got those Datex emails. They are in a separate folder, and obviously you will need to get into the habit and factor in time where you are looking in each folder to make sure you're keeping on top of them. Now, the reason I create the rules is because I don't want to open an inbox with a few hundred emails. I want to make it as easy to manage as possible. Once I've opened the inbox and I've got, let's say, 200 emails, the first thing I do is to filter, and I go to the flagged important ones first. There shouldn't really be any flagged emails because you've had an out of office on, and technically people shouldn't really send you an email if you're out of office. So I have a quick look through them, and if there's any actions, I can then deal with that straight away. Then my next way to filter is to go to subject heading. You could have perhaps 20 emails about one subject. You can then go to the top email, the most recent email of that subject, open it up, have a look. You will see a long email thread. You can then delete the previous emails on that subject heading. So 20 emails then just become one email. So if you carry on doing that, you are gradually filtering down your inbox to a more manageable size. The other things I do, and to be honest, you will find your own way of doing this, but I then would flick through and perhaps filter who the email's from, or I might do it by date. It really depends on you and what your looking for in emails if you're waiting for, specific emails. So my third tip is staff support. Your staff are so important to you. They're more important than you realise. They are the ones that are running the ward for you. They are giving great patient care. If you invest time in them, they will feel listened to, they'll feel valued, they will be happier at work, and they will then go on to deliver the great care that we all strive for. So I've got an open door policy, and staff know that they can just come to the office, they can come in for a chat. Sometimes they're crying, they're laughing, they're swearing, a variety of reasons. It really doesn't matter. I give them my time. However, if I'm busy and I've got an important piece of work to do, I tell them for the next couple of hours, I'm going to be busy, my door's going to be closed. Because I am visible, they know and they respect that I need this focus time, and they will not come and interrupt you unless, of course, there's an emergency. 2 top tips for supporting staff. I would say you need to make sure you're honest with them, and also don't avoid them. I can remember when I first started as a manager, it is hard to juggle everything, and a staff member comes in and I said, "Oh, come back in an hour." I knew that I would only have a few minutes of time to spare for them before I was going to a meeting. Now, that wasn't fair on that person. So what you have to do is, if you're going to be busy for the hour, tell them, "Oh, I can see you at 3 o'clock," or "Is it possible to phone you later after your shift?" or "Can I see you tomorrow?" They really won't mind, because you are being honest with them and you are not avoiding them. So I can't stress enough the importance of just be open, be honest with them, and they will really feel valued. So tip number 4 is about writing a list. I love a list, and I love a handwritten list, because I feel a sense of achievement when I can cross things off as I do them. Starting my day, I've got a fresh list in the morning. I will then look at it and prioritise which are my urgent jobs, which are important, what jobs can I save until late in the day or even carry over for the week. I then start with probably the most urgent. So I, for example, might start with the day text. I might have a list of 20 day texts to get through. I don't necessarily sit and do all of those day texts. I feel that if I can get through half of those day texts, I've then got half a job to do. Now, it can be mentally tiring if you're doing the same job for a long time. So for me personally, I like to then switch. So I've done half my day text. I look at my list and I think, oh, I've got a couple of really quick jobs on there. So for example, changes to the off duty. I will quickly do those jobs. Then I've crossed 2 jobs off my list, and it almost motivates you again. I can then get back to my day text, or I can look at one of the other more complex jobs. As long as you work through that list, you work through it in your own order. Everyone is different. Some people will be determined to get all the complex jobs out of the way first. Some people prefer to do all the quick jobs first. I personally, like I said, will dip in between complicated, urgent and priority jobs. So I do think it's beneficial to write a list. I think a list will really help you structure your day and help what seems like an overwhelming, endless list of jobs to do. It will enable you to get them in a more manageable way. So my final tip number 5, is about looking after yourself. So you are spread very thinly. Everyone wants a piece of you. Your staff need you, doctors need you, patients need you, and also your family and friends need you. If you don't look after yourself, you are going to become burnt out. I remember I used to I'd do a day shift and then work the night shift, and then I could get a call in the middle of the night or at the weekend. It didn't really seem that much for me to be able to just pop in for, it could be half an hour, it could be an hour, it could be several hours. But all this is eating into the time that I should be resting, I should be relaxing, I should be spending time with my family and friends. There's no point being a martyr, because in the end it just makes you become mentally tired, physically tired. I go back to the delegation stuff. If you're delegating and your senior nurses in particular feel empowered and autonomous, they will look after the ward for you. They don't need you. They're perfectly capable. So it is in your best interest, if you support your staff, develop your staff, empower them, then that in turn means they are going to look after you. Yes, there will be some times where they might need to call you, and that's absolutely fine. But please don't do what I used to do. I did used to drop everything and say, okay, I'll be there soon, because I felt that that was my job as a ward manager and thought that I was accountable 24/7. Well, guess what? You are accountable, but it doesn't mean that you have to give your life to the ward. So please just look after yourself. So that's the end of my tips for today. I hope you found them useful, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video.